If you've been doing shadow work or journaling for some time, but you still feel stuck with the same patterns, it's not because your trauma is worse than everyone else or you're just not disciplined enough. It's usually because you're using the same tool on 3 different problems. There's actually 3 types of shadow, and each type requires a unique approach for you to resolve it. My name is Ege. I mentor analytical men on mastering their mind and their belief system, and in one of my recent 3 interviews, someone asked me the perfect question to dive into this subject. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you about the 3 types of shadow and how to resolve each type.
I also have a question. You earlier talked about how,
go for it.
How you kind of first get rid of the negative emotion, and then you let the positive inhabit it or replace it. Do you think there always has to be something there to replace it, or?
So, okay, you don't always get rid of the negative. The reason we let go of this now is there's 3 types of shadow, right?
Here's a quick overview for your mind. First, we have introjections. These are beliefs you swallowed from the outside and you believe about yourself. These are the ones where we find the original source and we give them back. Second, we have projections. These is the stuff that you see in other people that you might judge, you get irritated by, you get frustrated with, and this is actually your own stuff to re-own, so you have more power to create the life that you want. And third, we have split ego states. This is when we have an internal conflict between different parts of ourselves. So we don't try to erase one part, we try to find common ground between them. So now that you have a map, let's go into some examples and dive into each part in more detail.
The first type is an introjection. So an introjection is when I take an outside experience and I make it mean something about myself. So let's say I was a few years old, I was playing with my toys, laughing around, and my dad's like, "Oh, you're making too much noise, be quiet." As a kid, I don't have the capacity to say, "Oh, I'm disturbing my dad," just in this moment. So I might say, "Oh, I'm not allowed to express myself." And I create that belief and I live with it.
With introjections, you realize you weren't born into the world with this belief. Whether it's the idea that I'm not good enough, I have to perform to feel loved, or I cannot express my authentic self, or any sensation that makes you feel weak, this is something you took away from the external world. So you externalize this belief and give it back to wherever it came from. Your mom, your dad, your teachers, your culture. You weren't actually born with this belief, so it's time to let go of it.
The second type is a projection, where we look at other people and we see something inside ourselves in them. So some people will do this thing like, "Oh, my people in my city are so unfriendly." But actually they're just feeling anxious to socialize. It's not that their city is unfriendly. That's an example of a projection.
With projections, you look at the things that you feel irritated by or the things that you judge, and instead of wishing for other people to change, you see it as data and you become curious about the pattern to see if it also lives within you. So for example, you might be at a bar and you see a guy talking to a woman that you wanted to talk to, and you might think, this guy is just talking about himself, how arrogant. But the moment you have that judgment, you can recognize, wait, actually sometimes when it's about the subject of meditation or healing, I can be arrogant telling people about all the cool frameworks that I know. So the more you re-own your projections, the more power you have to create the life that you want, because you're not wasting your energy fixating on things that you cannot control.
And third, there's a split ego state, which is when you have an internal conflict between different parts of who you are. So maybe, you want to quit your job and do your own thing, but you don't believe you'll be successful. So in that sense, you can have negative emotions in a split ego state as well. But we don't want to remove that because that comes from a genuine part of you.
With split ego states, you allow each part to have a voice. So first, the part that wants to start his own business takes the stage and talks about why this is important to him. Then the part that believes that maybe this is too much of a risk also speaks up. So the key here is you allow each part to have a voice without repressing any part, even the parts that you may not really enjoy hearing about. And when these parts are speaking, you look at their positive intention. For example, the part that wants to do his own thing may want a little bit more freedom. The part that's afraid this may not work, doesn't believe he'll be successful, maybe he wants more safety. As you allow these parts to find common ground, you experience less confusion and less freezing in your life. So instead of taking 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, you can keep moving forward with less effort. In Mr. L's case, who is the person that you're seeing in the street interview, we're working with an interject that receiving love feels like too much. And that interject comes with the sensation of some tightness around the throat and the chest. So what we do with him is we allow him to give this back.
The reason we removed it in this situation is because it was coming from an outside experience, like I'm not allowed to receive love, right? So that's where we remove it, and we want to use the right healing modality for the right category of beliefs, because otherwise you can do harm when you were intending to do good.
Yeah, true.
And then what we did is more, once we remove it, we just observe what happens. That's where a lot of people make mistakes. They'll have a belief that hurts them, and they'll go, oh, I'm gonna reframe this belief. But it's kind of like, let's say someone's playing really loud music on a speaker. Instead of telling the person to turn off their speaker, you just bring your own speaker and blast your own music, right? And you see who's gonna win. It's exhausting.
Yeah, true.
So that's why we remove the belief and we observe naturally what fills its place. Because I didn't tell you, hey, move it up. You told me, oh, it moved up, right?
Yeah, true.
So we didn't do anything, it just happened naturally. And that also, when we do this over and over again, shows us like, oh, our nature was love to begin with. Because if it wasn't, why would it be filled with that energy?
Yeah, true. Yeah, interesting, yeah.
Here's a quick summary and a simple way to classify your own patterns. First, if a voice feels like it's coming from someone else, your dad, your mom, your teachers, your culture, then you're dealing with an interject. So what we do with that is we find the original source and we give the interject back. Second, if you keep getting frustrated with people or things outside of your control, keep getting annoyed, keep feeling judgmental, you're most likely dealing with a projection. So what we do there is we re-own it by seeing that we have the same pattern that we may be frustrated by inside ourselves. Third, if you're experiencing this sense of confusion, this sense of freezing up, then you're most likely dealing with a split ego state. So there we identify the parts or the beliefs that are creating this conflict, and we allow those parts to each have a voice, find common ground, so we can move towards a life that we want more effortlessly. Most smart guys I work with aren't short on effort. They're meditating, they're journaling, they're trying to process their emotions, but their effort is very unfocused. They don't have a clear destination or a process that they're working with. If you'd rather be more precise and effective with your inner work, the Data-Driven Healing Playbook gives you a clear decision tree. If it's an interject, do this. If it's a projection, change that part. If it's a split ego state, do this instead, and a clear dashboard where you can see how these tools are affecting your life, are changing you with clear data points over weeks and months. You can grab it using the link in description and use it as a reference point, not another thing that you have to complete. This way you have a clear process to work with your belief system and you create the life that you want day by day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.